Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us here at the Wahiawā Value-Added Product Development Center. My name's Naomi Blue Summers. I'm the operations coordinator here. We also have the rest of our team here supporting us tonight. We are part of LCC, Leeward Community College, and the Wahiawā Value-Added Product Development Center is a 33,000 square foot facility located in the heart of central Oahu. Our mission is to support local agriculture, and we have a variety of packaging and kitchen equipment, commercial kitchens that entrepreneurs can rent. We also provide product development, consultation services, as well as educational programming, such as the workshop that you all are here attending tonight. This is part of our Canoe crop series. So for every month, we have these hands-on workshops that focus on a different product. And for the past few months, we have been focusing on different canoe crops, everything from kalo to ulu, and today we have Maiʻa, which is banana. So I'd like to introduce our two guest speakers. Tonight we'll have Gabe Sachter-Smith from Hawaii Banana Source, and he'll be starting us off. And then later on this evening, we'll have Chef Mari Wills. She'll be showing us how to make a dish using some bananas. So I will hand it over now to Gabe.
All right. Thank you, Naomi, and aloha, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for coming out tonight to learn about bananas. I'm excited too because I only know what I'm going to do. I'm really excited to see what Chef Mari whips up back there. So I'm a banana farmer, first and foremost. That's kind of my day job. I also dabble as a banana research scientist in my free time, which is increasingly rare. But I farm about 35 acres in Wailua, certified organic. I specialize in diversity. So I don't know how many varieties. It's always changing, but usually over 100 or so at any given time. Today, the presentation that I'm going to give is just a little bit of background for home gardeners. We're going to talk about the plants, not so much from a farm scale, but just how to understand and effectively grow bananas in your backyard. Then we're going to do a little bit of tasting, kind of how to understand the fruit and what you can do with the fruit in a very basic way. And then Chef Mari is going to take it to the next level and show you what you can do with the fruit in a more advanced culinary method. So, growing bananas in the home garden. This is a little view of my home garden. And as you can see, as much as I love bananas, I love a lot of different crops. And bananas really are something that is, works well in a garden, but you need to understand how they work, which is that they're not permanent. The most important thing, if you were to learn anything about bananas today, is that they are not trees. And now that might sound like just sort of a fun fact or a trivia thing, but in reality, understanding that bananas are not trees is the most important thing to guide all of your decision-making process about how you manage them, how you plant them, how you care for them. They're closely related to gingers, heliconias, and even corn than any type of tree. There's no wood, there's no branches, and they're impermanent, which means that they're never going to stay in that place that you put them for very long. But the flip side of that is they're always regenerating themselves, and they have a lot of ability to be persistent in the sense that it can actually be hard to get rid of them, but they're always going to be trying to move or do something that isn't like a tree. So a direct comparison to understand this, I have this little table here. Trees are long-lived. They typically will be around on the order of decades or even centuries. Bananas are short-lived, usually in the single digits of years. What that means is that they're quick to yield, and they can be temporary placeholders in mixed planting systems. Trees will stay where you put them. Bananas will wander. What that might affect your decisions is that they can pinch irrigation lines. They can be uncooperative with weed mat or even sidewalks and things nearby. So you want to make sure that they have plenty of space around them, or to prune them and manage them so that they don't interfere with things around them. Trees have a sensitive outer bark layer called the cambium. Bananas have no such layer. All the growth is inside in the core. What that means is that you can actually freely mulch around bananas, which they really appreciate. If you put too much mulch around a real tree, sometimes that mulch can hold moisture up to the trunk and it'll rot it out. Bananas, no problem with that. Trees also tend to be more wind resistant in the, because of their wood, they're strong. Bananas tend to be very susceptible to the wind. A lot of people want to use bananas as a windbreak or something to slow down the wind around other things. And I'd say they're okay as a short-term windbreak and actually to help establish a long-term permanent windbreak, but ultimately they're not very good as a windbreak. These are the basic parts of a banana plant. All you really need to understand is that the corm here underground is where all of the growth comes from, and everything above ground is essentially like your hair. It's kind of superficial to the actual plant. It's just leaves. Everything, all the roots grow from here, all the keiki grow from here, and even the fruit bunch actually grows from the ground level. It just looks like it's coming out of the top of the plant because it has to shoot through the middle of what's called the pseudostem, and then it comes out of the top, but actually all the growth is happening at ground level. They're usually pretty quick. The time from harvest, or from planting to first harvest, is usually around a year. The first 3 months are very critical. I call it the no Santa Clausing thing. You can't put in all the work at the end and hope that you get good results. You have to be good all year. You have to make sure that they have the proper water, fertilizer, sunlight, everything from planting until harvest, and that's the way to maximize your yield on them. The effective lifespan in Hawaii, I'd say, is typically around 1 to 5 years. I personally aim for 2 to 3 years maximum. You'll always have examples where they live longer than that, but between all the different pests and diseases that we have, the chances of them being healthy beyond 5 years really start to decrease. So I personally like to take them out before you hit that issue. Kind of quit while you're ahead and keep it moving. Bananas are actually closer related to kalo as well than to any other tree, and if anybody has experience growing kalo, you know that you plant it, you harvest, and then you replant, and that's just part of the system. Traditionally throughout the Pacific, in lots of different traditional agricultural systems, bananas are grown along with those types of root crops that are rotational. They're not something that's placed in one area and then they're there forever. They're known that you have to constantly be regenerating them and replanting them. This is just sort of a, rough cycle that you could do is you plant a little keiki plant. In about 8 to 9 months, it'll start flowering. In about 3 to 4 months after that, you can harvest. So right around 12 months, you can take off keiki, replant it into a new spot. It'll go through the same thing again, and then you start over. So you're constantly having new areas. Now, you could leave these in for longer, but you don't need to. This is sort of a more elaborate example, which we don't need to get into, but it essentially shows how you can start a new patch, or start one patch, and then midway through its life, start a new patch, and then once the new patch starts fruiting, then you can take out your old patch so that you maintain production. And this seems like a lot of work, and it is, but the reality from the banana farmer's perspective is that production has gone pretty steadily down in the state since 1989, which is when bunchy top virus was first detected. And a lot of growers have just stopped growing and said, it's too hard. Meanwhile, the demand for bananas has never decreased in popularity, but population increases, and so the demand for bananas actually just keeps going higher, even though production is going lower. So I don't know if anybody in here is a current or aspiring farmer, but I personally think it's actually good to work with a crop that's just a little bit out of reach and too hard to grow for most people, because then it means you'll always have a market for it. If it's too easy, then anybody can do it, and your price is low and you have a hard time moving your stuff. So it's actually, I think, kind of a sort of good thing, or trying to see the bright side, that they're just hard enough to grow that it, you got to put in the work. But also, if you do put in the work and you pay attention and you are diligent, then actually they're not that bad. You can grow them. The question I get asked a lot is when to harvest bananas. There is really no set rule. Sometimes you'll hear that when the angles soften and they round out, or when the first fruits start to ripen. what I like to do is wait. If I'm working with a new variety especially and I don't know exactly how it should look like, I'll wait till 1 or 2 fruits ripen, and then in my sort of banana computer brain, I lock in what the unripe fruit looks like, the size, the shape, even the color. Because usually they're some version of green when they're unripe, but they'll usually change a little bit, like they'll lighten just before ripening or even just at maturity. So they might be a slightly different shade of green. So I kind of lock that into my head, and then I harvest them when the entire bunch is mature, but nothing is ripe yet. If you do have 1 or 2 fruits ripen, like the middle photo, it's okay. But you really want to try to avoid more than that. The reason being, you'll never be able to have the whole bunch ripen and have that be the sign, because they ripen really unevenly throughout the bunch. And also insects, rats, birds will always beat you to them. So it's actually, you get a lot more out of it by making sure that none of them have ripened yet. There's absolutely no difference in quality as long as they're mature enough. Bananas are a type of fruit that actually, all their sugar comes from the breakdown of starch to the sugar inside the fruit. Something like a papaya or a pineapple actually only gets their sugar while they're attached to the plant. So the second you take it off of the plant, that sugar is locked in. Bananas actually, they can keep getting sweeter. It doesn't really matter. So for the most efficiency, you want to harvest them when they're green but mature. And something I like to think about is how to know when to harvest is challenge yourself to say, would I buy those at a market and feel satisfied with them? Do they look good? Or do you think like, they look a little weird? It's easy to want to harvest them, just you're so excited with this bunch of bananas in your backyard. But then challenge yourself, say, actually, you got to pay $100 for that. Or just a few of them and you pay $5 and say, would you want to do that? Or like, actually, they look a little underfilled. Maybe wait a few weeks and see if they improve. So what I do is also when they're green or unripe, in this case these ones are red, so let's just say they're unripe, they're a lot sturdier, so it makes them really easy to dehand, which means to take off the bunch, to wash them, to get any roaches or gecko eggs or rat poop or anything that's in there, spray them out, clean them out, and then you can pack them into a box and let them ripen inside, away from rats and birds and pests, and it makes it so much easier. It's also really, this kind of charismatic photo opportunity that is very tempting, is to cut the whole bunch and then hang it up somewhere so that you can watch it. It's really not practical. As soon as they start ripening, they'll typically fall off. Usually you can only do that outside, maybe in your garage or lanai, which means rats and birds. So it's really a lot better just to get them off the bunch, pack them into boxes, bring them inside, and they will ripen just fine. That's how 99+% of bananas in the world are ever handled. Okay, we're going to talk about diseases for a little bit. So there's a few really common diseases. The most common, but probably least severe, is called black sigatoka, and it's a leaf fungus. It's pretty ubiquitous everywhere bananas are grown. Some varieties get it worse than others, and actually some are completely resistant to it. But this is the disease that, if you ever hear the stats about commercial banana production, especially in the export markets, they're sprayed almost more than any other crop, sometimes more than once a week, like over 52 times a year. And it's actually to control this disease. The problem with it is that it affects younger growth, it actually affects older leaves. So as the younger leaves are growing, they're resistant, but then as they get older, they start to become susceptible. When a banana plant starts to fruit, it no longer makes any leaves on that shoot, so all of the leaves start to become older. And what that means is they can all die off before the fruit bunch is mature, and then you don't have any leaves, which are essentially the solar panels of the plant, to feed the bunch and grow the fruit. It's relatively easy to manage though, especially in a home garden situation. You really just need to cut off the dead leaves when they're no more than 50% dying or dead. You place on the ground, and you want to promote airflow and not have that kind of stagnant, damp conditions around the plant. You can also plant resistant varieties, and that helps. This is an example, the photo on the left. You might see it's this plant that has no more leaves left, even though the bunch wasn't quite filled. So that was because they all died of sigatoka. It's kind of similar thing on the right, but maybe a little bit harder to see. Okay, the most well-known disease in Hawaii is called banana bunchy top virus, also known as BBTV. Plant viruses are really funny in their naming in that it's just very simple. It's the host that it's infecting, and then a really basic symptom, and then virus. So in this case, this virus makes the top of banana plants bunched up. Banana bunchy top virus. You can see these plants on the left are really stunted and short. It will not kill the plants. This is critical. Bunchy top virus does not kill the plants. That it would actually be nicer if it did, because if it was infected, then it would just die out. But instead, they stunt them and prevent them from ever fruiting again. And then they'll just be permanently like that. And you have to kill the plants yourselves. It's only spread by a very particular aphid called the banana aphid. And it only feeds on banana. And it's the only way that the virus can transmit from plant to plant, which is kind of nice. Some viruses are really easy to spread on tools or in soil. But bunchy top virus is only with these aphids. They're black. You can see them on the right photo. They live in the kind of protected little nooks and crannies on the top of the plant and sometimes towards the bottom of the plant too. The classic symptoms of bunchy top virus is that you have a reduced leaf size. So in a healthy banana plant, every single leaf is going to get slightly larger than the previous one until one of two things happen. Either it's about to fruit, in which case those leaves will start to transition into the inflorescence, and it's obvious because you have this big healthy plant, and then a week or two later you have the flower bud come out. If the leaves are getting smaller and it's not about to do that, it could be bunchy top virus. And in bunchy top, it's a very distinct way that the plant's leaves get smaller. They tend to be not only shorter, but also narrower. And they tend to have yellow edges and become very brittle and crinkly. So you can see on this left side photo, those are sort of the classic symptoms. And also, they won't gain height anymore. So they'll keep growing leaves, but they kind of plateau out at whatever height they were at. If they do manage to fruit, because sometimes the symptom onset is right as the bunch is coming out of the plant, usually what happens is that the fruit stunts at that really small size and doesn't develop. So it's still a loss either way. Even if they do manage to fruit, the fruit isn't usable. It's like really dumb little bunches. You can see here on the left side, the left bunch is the normal bunch. The right side bunch in that left photo is the same variety, but a bunchy top stunted bunch. So, you know, that went from being maybe like 40 pounds of full-size fruit to like 3 pounds of fruit the size of your finger that is pretty useless. Another sort of more rare symptom, just because you don't see bunchy top virus during fruiting, but if it does happen, and the male bud, which is that purple dangly bit below the bunch, if that's there, you'll get these kind of flared yellow tips. It almost looks like a dragon fruit, the way they kind of flare. That's actually the symptoms of bunchy top virus in that male flower bud. There's also this symptom called the J hooks or Morse code. It's a little bit complicated to actually learn how to see these. They are really diagnostic, but you kind of have to be trained to do it. But if you did want to try to train yourself, you have to take the leaf and critically turn towards the sun because you need it to be illuminated. And then what you do is you look right at the crook of where the leaf blade meets the midrib, and you'll see these dark green hooks. You also see on the leaf midrib some kind of like what's called the Morse code, these dots and dashes. And it's actually the same symptom. It's just that you have these dark green streaks throughout the vascular system of the plant where it's moving nutrients, kind of like its veins. So on the left is an infected plant, on the right is a healthy one, looking at those same parts. If you're unsure if you have a plant that might have bunchy top virus, like if you get a keiki from someone, as opposed to just planting it in the ground right away, something you can do is pot it up and keep it on the side and let it grow for a few months in the container, because they don't always show the symptoms right away. It can take sometimes 3-4 months or more before they actually show the symptoms. Bunchy top spreads in a local area, plant to plant, by the banana aphid, but it spreads regionally by keiki. So like if you're in Waimanalo and you have an infected plant, imagine there was no bunchy top on the North Shore. It's going to spread between plants there, but the aphids aren't going to come up here. It's too far for them. but people will come up. So if you take an infected keiki, even if you don't know it's infected, and then you bring that up, and then you plant that, and that plant's growing, then you can be introducing bunchy top to that area. Unfortunately, on Oahu, essentially everywhere is bunchy top infested. There's really no safe space. But it's still nice to just make sure that the plant that you have is healthy before you invest in where you're going to place it in your garden. And you can see this plant actually was growing for almost 4 months, and it made probably 5 or 6 really healthy looking leaves, and then it threw up the infected leaf. And that doesn't mean that it got it in my nursery. It means that it had it. And it also, sometimes the plants look perfectly healthy, but when you take off a keiki and transplant it, that shock to the plant is enough to disrupt its balance and kind of almost make it sick, and its defenses go down, and then it shows the bunchy top virus quicker. It would have shown it anyway later, but this sort of accelerates it. There are a couple pests to be aware of. The most common is corm weevils or corm borers. They're a small beetle, about a ½ an inch long, and they exclusively eat bananas, specifically the corms, which is that underground true stem where everything grows from. Some varieties are more susceptible than others. Unfortunately, all the Hawaiian traditional canoe varieties are very, very sensitive to it. But what they do is they bore tunnels throughout the corm, and they weaken the plant. They inhibit its ability to take up nutrients, and they structurally weaken it too. So they'll often grow right towards the growing point and disrupt the new growth coming out. You can see this is sort of a cross section. Sometimes the leaves will be bunched up and look like they're having bunchy top virus, but actually they're just stunted from the corm weevils eating that lower part, but the leaves don't get smaller. So that's one way you can tell the difference between them. But when they do have a really bad infestation, like I said, they can weaken the corm and structurally damage it to the point where the whole thing can just snap and fall over. So this is a symptom that if your corms are snapping in half and you see all these tunnels in there, it's corm weevils. Another pest that's really common are nematodes. There's various types of nematodes that affect banana, but they all pretty much have the same symptoms and also the same treatment. Usually you'll also see the plants just become really weak and not as vigorous, and also fall over. The difference is between corm weevils and nematodes. In corm weevils, they'll tend to snap at the corm. With nematodes, the corms fall out of the ground because they eat the roots, and so there's no more anchors in there anymore. So you can see in this plant, they actually, the corm just popped right out of the ground. And that little sub-photo on the lower right are roots going from healthy to infested, left to right. And you can see those are just cross sections that the roots become literally rotten. Okay, there's 2 basic types of keiki. On the left, we have a sword, and on the right is a water. Sometimes you'll hear that you only want to plant sword suckers and water suckers are useless. The truth is they can both be useful. Plants will make both types. Essentially, sword suckers have small leaves and a big corm. Water suckers have big leaves and a small corm. If you leave the water suckers attached to the plant and expect them to fruit, they'll probably be outcompeted and not fruit very well. If you separate them from the plant and try to plant them in the field in another spot, usually because they don't have as much corm, they won't establish as well, and they'll be slower to establish or not at all. But if you pot them up in the nursery and treat them very tenderly and get them rooted, then you can pot them out, no problem. So both types are useful. You just have to know how to treat them. But the basic process for propagation, there's a lot of different techniques, but the most standard is you dig out the keiki, you clean off all the soil and then pare them down like you're peeling a potato. I like to take off any surface that was in contact with the soil. What that allows you to do is inspect for corm weevil damage and also remove any nematodes that may have been in the roots. You can see if they're clean or healthy. And then this is kind of optional, but a pretty good idea, especially if you're just working with a few plants that are really precious to you, is you do like essentially a sanitization. You can do either a 130-degree Fahrenheit water bath for 20 minutes or a 10% bleach solution for 20 minutes. What that'll do is kill any of the nematode or corm weevil larvae or eggs that are still within that outer layer of corm. You let them dry out, you pot them up, or you plant in the ground. then you got your bananas. You can plant them if they're in a pot about as deep as the pot. They don't need to be super deep. 6 to 12 inches is fine. I like to place any amendments that you're going to have directly in that planting hole. Mulch is always really beneficial. It's really hard to overwater them as long as you have good soil drainage. And generally, bananas are actually kind of easy. So here's my keys to success. You got to choose the right variety for your needs, which we didn't have time to talk about today, but we are going to talk about some varieties in a culinary sense. You want to start with clean plants, free of bunchy top, nematodes, and corn weevils. This is where I say they're kind of easy. You can water them, give them as much sun, fertilizer, and mulch as possible. It's really hard to overdo it, and they're just going to go bigger, better, faster, stronger. And then have an exit plan, because remember, they're not very permanent plants. They like to move around, and so you want to help them move around by always knowing where they're going to go next and having a plan beyond just, I plant them here and I hope to have bananas here forever. It's like, no, you got to strategize a little bit more. Replant frequently, ideally before your pests and diseases become an issue, and then you can remove the entire plant at the first sign of any pest or disease. And if you do that and you're always replanting, then you can grow bananas forever. And if that sounds like too much work, then support your local banana farmers and we'll do it for you. Okay, I think that's all I have as far as my presentation tonight. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to take them, but I'll also be around all evening. So I think well, does anyone have any questions right off the bat? Okay, great. Well, let's get into some tasting. I think that's why most of us are here, is to eat some bananas. So I think we'll come over to this prep table area, and I'm going to talk about, yeah, how to eat a banana. Let's come learn together. Okay, so the first, I get asked a lot, what is the difference between a cooking banana and like a dessert or sweet banana? And the answer is there is no difference. It's all about ripeness by recipe, by cultural preference. You can have the exact same variety in different parts of the world, and everyone will argue about the best way to eat them or what you do with them. But the reality is bananas don't come with instructions. And every single banana, there's a few exceptions, but that's for the next level banana class. We don't need to get into that right now. Every single banana will start off starchy when it's unripe. And remember, like I said, if you harvest them when they're green, they will ripen. And where along the line you decide to eat them or what you want to do with them is up to you. But they will all ripen to something sweet and soft. Even the most, classic cooking bananas. So essentially what makes a cooking banana is if it's cooked. If you cook it, it's a cooking banana. Auntie Martha here, patele maker and longtime customer, the preferred patele banana is Bluefields, also called Gros Michel, or the Williams or Chinese. What that is banana no frills. Classic, Dole, Chiquita, standard, sweet peeling banana. That banana, green, is a cooking banana. Or is it a sweet banana? It doesn't matter. It's what you do with it. So, don't be afraid to cook a variety however you want or let one ripen. So the first thing I'm going to do here, yeah, let's do that. So I'm going to present the exact same variety at hopefully 3 levels of ripeness. So just to kind of get some, different things. Now, it's kind of hard sometimes to get it at the perfect level, but that first one on the right is totally unripe, so just green, starchy. I tried to get these ones to be like half ripe, but they may have ripened a little more than was planning. I had to prep these over the past week, because these are now really soft and squishy. That's okay. And then these ones were actually even more ripe, so we'll see if there's a difference. And then I'll cut up some other ones, or we can try them out. But essentially, these are just all different varieties that are cooked without regard to whether they're supposed to be cooked or not. So here, let's, I don't know, maybe get a line and we didn't really fully understand. But feel free to come up and taste these. I'm going to take some more.
So you want to cut them all up and then we can have them come so we can grab one of each or something.
Okay, well, yeah. Okay, these ones, this is a classic, just little sweet banana. That's typically how it's eaten. I steamed it. Now, just because you can cook any banana doesn't mean it's going to be good, but it won't be poisonous. So it's not like you're going to be harmed. It's just, and then it's recipe. You know, it's like maybe this tastes a little weird, but hey, if you threw it in a curry, maybe it's all right. All right, I'm just going to do this very, very simply. This is, yeah, I don't have any labels for these. Yeah, I'm a farmer, not a chef, so pardon my haphazard planning here. But this is that Gros Michel, the kind of classic sweet dessert banana of global fame. And then, let's see. These ones are so big. This is a classic green plantain, just steamed. Now, I get asked a lot too, and you might be wondering what's the difference between a banana and a plantain, and the answer is there is no difference. It's a false difference. It's kind of like saying dogs and chihuahuas. You're just comparing the wrong thing. So all plantains are bananas. They're just a specific genetic type of banana. But not all bananas that are cooked are plantains, because it's this very specific genetic type. So that's also a thing too, that you don't need to be afraid of, like you don't have a, you know, a plantain, like you can't cook it or something. You can also see, like in this, how much more yellow they got compared to this one. Same variety, just different ripeness level. So sometimes the colors change, sometimes the sweetness changes, the texture changes. So let's see. Hopefully I can get these enough for everybody. I don't know. I'm sorry. But there will be burgers and ketchup and all this awesome stuff. So don't try to fill up on all this, because you're going to eat like 5 pounds of bananas and maybe regret it. All right, I think this is like enough. These ones are more just a curiosity that are probably going to be pretty much the same as those. I think just have at it and see what you think. I mean, I can give guides. Remember, so those first 3 on the right side are the same variety, just hopefully at slightly different ripeness levels. And then the other ones are just, what I'm trying to demonstrate here isn't to be like wowed by the flavors, but sort of just to understand, like, this is the foundation. These are the starting points. These are the entry points, your basic ingredients. And then you need someone like Chef Mari to be like, all right, well, this is what I would do with it. Or, you know, like, this would probably be way better fried with a little garlic salt. But we're just trying to level the playing field here. So, yeah. Okay, so if no one has any questions, or even if you do, I'll still be here, but we're gonna take a break. I don't know for how long, a few minutes? 5-minute break. If you need to use the restroom, get water, do whatever, think more about bananas. And then we're gonna transition to Chef Mari's portion and the banana burger and ketchup demo, I believe? Or no ketchup demo. The ketchup is just gonna happen, but there will be banana ketchup? Oh. Cool. So anyway, we're going to transition that. So 5-minute break, but I'm still around for questions. So.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. My name is Chef Mari Wills. I am a registered dietitian and a culinary teacher at Kaiser High School. So my recipe banana burgers won first place at the Maiʻa Festival last year at Windward Community College. And my inspiration for the dish was, how can I make bananas savory? So what better way to make a savory recipe than use a green banana? The great thing about green bananas is they contain what's called resistant starches. So if you have diabetes, this is great because it doesn't spike your blood sugar and it makes a great savory recipe ingredient. So I'm gonna get started to make our banana burgers and you guys are gonna make it after this. Okay, so first things first, I'm gonna cut this into small dice. So we're gonna peel the banana peels off, and you can save these. I've made bacon out of banana peels before. So when you do that, you scrape off the white stuff and then boil it. But I'll talk about that after. So we're gonna peel this off. And I'm only gonna do half a recipe for this one. You guys are gonna make the full recipe and then we're gonna cook it up together. So the nice thing about green bananas is they can take on many different flavor profiles, similar to potatoes. So you can use it in like a curry, like Gabe mentioned, make it into burgers. You can make it into hash browns, tater tots, anything you can use a potato, you can use a green banana. And also same for ulu too, if you guys are familiar with ulu or breadfruit. So I'm just gonna cut this into small dice. For these burgers, you want to cut it small because we want to make sure that they cook. Otherwise, you'll still be able to taste the starchiness. Okay, so I usually line it up like that. The smaller the better for this patty. Okay, so I'm actually going to cook my onions first because the pan is hot. And I'm going to use avocado oil just because it's a neutral oil. So whenever you cook, it's all about multitasking. And you get really good at it the more you do it. I've been cooking for over 15 years. So practice makes perfect. So I'm gonna let that get a little bit more translucent before I add in my mushrooms. And now back to my bananas. So yeah, we're gonna make it small dice. Okay. With the ripe banana, we don't need to cut it because it's already soft in texture. The ripe banana in this recipe serves as an egg replacement, so it helps bind it. So this recipe is actually 100% plant-based, although you can add meat to it if you like. Okay. Now that it's nice and translucent, I'm gonna add in my mushrooms. So I like to add mushrooms into this recipe just to give it more of that umami flavor and also has that meaty texture, which is nice in a burger. With this banana burger recipe, it can also be turned into taco meat too. So you can make a banana, like a green banana flour taco, and then use this as the filling. Okay, let that go. And then I'm gonna put my bananas in my mixing bowl because everything is gonna get mixed together. Okay. Oops. Okay. So we don't want to overcook this. I'm gonna actually turn it off, let it cool down. Here. All right, so I'm actually adding beans to this recipe because when you combine beans and rice, it creates a complete protein. So it has all 9 essential amino acids, and that makes it more filling. So when you eat it, you're more satisfied. Okay, so everything goes. So I have my hapa rice, so that's brown rice and white rice. My cannellini beans, so that's white beans. And then I'm gonna add panko. A little potato starch, so this helps to bind it as well. Some cumin, that gives it that special flavor. I think that's the secret ingredient for this recipe. And then a little kick, you're gonna add some chili powder. And then I'm gonna add some salt and pepper. Okay. Don't mind this flame. I'm gonna cook off our banana ketchup with that. Okay. So I'm gonna let that cool a little bit more. So right now I'm just gonna start mashing the banana burger. And you can use a glove for this. I highly recommend it. But I'm just gonna use my hand for this. Okay. once I get that incorporated, and you kind of want to smash down that ripe banana to bind all the rest of your ingredients to hold the burger. And you can customize this burger however you want. So if you don't like cumin, you can add like garlic seasoning, garlic powder, onion powder. That's a nice thing. And you can even make this into a teriyaki burger too if you're into that. It's very versatile. That's why I love the green bananas, because they can take on any flavor that you use. Okay. And you can also use a potato masher if you don't want to use your hands. Okay. So it's almost blended. And then I'm going to actually use a spatula to blend the rest of the ingredients. Okay. You can also add vegetables to this recipe too. So if you wanted to add like spinach or kale into the burger, that will add more nutrients as well and give it that color. But today we're just going to really highlight our bananas. And for this recipe, I'm using, Gabe, could you tell them what these types of bananas are?
The green ones that are unripe are Gros Michel, also called blue fields locally. And the ones that are ripe are called Namwa.
And you can use apple banana too from the store if that's easier. Or you can go call Gabe for some of these fancy bananas. Okay, so right now I'm just mixing my patty mixture, kind of blending down those beans, kind of mashing it since I didn't have a potato masher. That way it incorporates nice and evenly. And because we're cooking these burgers again, it's okay that I didn't cook the green bananas because it is going to get cooked during the burger cooking process. Okay, so we're almost there. So if you wanted to make it into tacos, you can use like green banana flour and try to make like a masa with the ripe banana. So you add green banana flour, some ripe yellow banana, and then masa harina, which is the cornmeal. And then you can use a tortilla press and then make this into a fancy banana taco. And then my other favorite way to use green bananas is curry. It just soaks up all the flavors of the broth. It makes it very delicious and it's very nutritious. So if you want to, cut back on potatoes because potatoes are high in carbohydrates, you can switch to a green banana instead. Yeah. And green bananas also make really good fries. So you guys can try that one day. I wish I could do it tonight. Maybe I can. Yeah, well, let's try. Okay, so I got it mashed pretty good. And I'm gonna get my pan on the flame because we want it pretty hot. So it gives me time. And now it's not hot anymore from the mushrooms and onions, so you don't want to burn your hands. Okay. So now we're gonna make our patties. I'm gonna get a sheet pan. Okay. And then for this, you can make it by hand like this, or you can use a scooper. If you want it more uniform, use a scooper. That way they're all even in size. Yeah, you don't want to have the waste. So when you use a scooper, you can just smash it down like that. And see, it's got a sticky consistency, so it's not going to fall apart when we cook it. Okay. I'm going to oil my pan now that it's hot. And you can use whatever oil you like. I prefer avocado. Like I mentioned earlier, it's neutral. It has a high smoke point, so you don't want to add too much heat. So like medium high, it should be okay, or medium, depending on if you're using gas. But avocado oil is good. You can use olive oil too. Okay. And then I also made some turmeric rolls that we can eat this with. It's almost there. You could probably make this into an egg roll. I'm just getting this inspiration already. Can do anything with this type of mixture. Very, very versatile. Okay. Although I haven't tried to grill it yet, but I highly recommend if you do want to grill it, freeze it first. That way it holds its shape. And you can also refrigerate this before cooking it too, just to make sure it doesn't fall apart. That's like the pro tip. Okay, I'm gonna let that cook. Okay. So I'm gonna grab our banana burger bun and get it ready. So earlier I baked these turmeric rolls, turmeric Elena in Olelo, Hawaii. But turmeric is also really great because it has anti-inflammatory benefits and it makes it beautifully yellow and golden. And it's yellow like a banana. So I was like, why not? So that's why I have that. Okay. I'm gonna toast it. Okay. I like to toast the buns if I'm trying to impress people. If you're at my house though and it's just my family, I don't toast them.
And you gotta toast them themselves.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna toast it, and you can like use butter if you want on it. I'm just gonna add a little avocado oil. Okay. So while our bun is going, I'm gonna check on our burgers. So this one's almost ready to flip. You'll know when it's ready to flip because the edges start to get more crispy. I should have got a spatula, but no worries. You can improvise. Okay. Yeah. The nice thing about this banana burger is because of the green bananas, it has like a hash brown feel to it. I think it's just the starchiness of the green bananas, but it makes like people who are afraid to eat plant-based more comfortable when you say it's like a hash brown burger. Because even my husband, like, he was a little hesitant to try this one at first, but then I told him, no, it's like a hash brown and kind of like a onigiri because it has rice in the recipe too. So yeah, you can refrigerate this before you cook it or freeze it, and it will freeze for up to 6 months to a year. So if you want like a quick on-the-go burger, it doesn't take too long to cook. Also, because these burgers have no saturated fat in it, it will require a little bit more of the cooking oil. That's why I recommend like a lighter oil like avocado or olive oil, just because they do have unsaturated fats, which is like the healthier fats for your body. Okay. And you can flip it several times too, until you get that nice golden brown. And then you can also add cheese if you're into cheese, which I am, but I didn't bring cheese today. But I might try to make a banana cheese now that I'm more inspired. Yes.
Ripe banana?
Yeah, with probably ripe banana. You can use like nutritional yeast or something. Let's check on our bun. This is a turmeric roll. Yeah, it's just like a simple yeast roll. I use dry active yeast. I used oat milk in this one. So this one is really simple, light, no dairy in it. So I made this burger plant-based. I'm not plant-based, but I like to cook plant-based often just because it's healthy. This one should be good. But yeah, this one got real toasty. There. Okay. So at this point, you can add your Maiʻa aioli and your banana ketchup. So I'm actually gonna cook the banana ketchup. I have the recipe, and you guys can easily make that at home. For those who don't know what banana ketchup is, it's a staple from the Philippines. It's made out of bananas and it adds like a sweetness, kind of like ketchup, but made with bananas. Okay. I'm gonna get a pretty one. This one looks good. Okay. All right. I'm just gonna cook this. So it's kind of a thicker sauce, as you can see. But you'll be able to smell like ketchup flavors. Who here has had banana ketchup before? Raise your hand. Okay, all right. Oh, yeah. I'm just gonna lightly cook it. Okay. All right. Okay. So this is not McDonald's. All right. Okay, and then I'm gonna get some lettuce. Okay. And then you can put it on a plate. All right, here's your banana burger. Yes. Thank you. So you guys will get to make these tonight and eat. So you can make the patty however big you'd like. Just make sure it's compact and then bring it here. We're gonna cook it up together and then eat it. Sound good? Yeah. So yeah, everyone just needs to wash hands and then, yeah, we can get started at so I have 3 stations for banana burgers and then 1 station for the Maiʻa aioli, which is a garlicky mayo. And I have some garlic confit to make it extra fancy. Yeah. Okay. All right, I'm gonna go over how to do the banana burger recipe first, and then I'll go talk about the Maiʻa aioli. Okay, so for this recipe, you'll need 2 green bananas, 1 ripe yellow banana. Since these are a little small, I have 2 to make 1 bigger one. You're gonna add, I already pre-cooked the onion and mushroom. So you're gonna just add everything to here after you cut these into small dice. Add your rice. I have the beans. You wanna mash those beans down and then add the panko and seasonings. I have seasonings all in these little containers. So it has your salt, pepper, cumin, and chili pepper. Yeah. And then we have our potato starch. So everything goes in the bowl, mix it, form it into patties. We're gonna cook it and then eat it. Okay, any questions? All right. I fully trust you guys. Okay, for Maiʻa aioli, it's the easiest recipe ever. We're using plant-based mayo, so that's like half the battle. So you're just gonna add that, and you can make the whole thing. Okay. We're kind of gonna improvise on this because this is more than the 1 cup. I think this is, let's see, this is about 16. It's a little under 4 cups. So we'll play along and try to make it like as close to the recipe, but times 3. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so add that to, we can use a big bowl. Just stir it up real good before we add this one. This is the garlic confit. We're gonna squeeze it from the bottom into, and it's gonna smell amazing. Okay. That thing made my house smell like crazy good. And then you're gonna add in, I'm gonna get you guys some avocado oil. And then you're gonna just cut the lemon, just juice it. You can do it into your hand so you can catch the seeds. And then salt and pepper to taste.
Okay, and then the bananas.
Banana goes in with the mayo, so yeah, you can mash it up. Yeah, this one's easy. I might get you guys a few more bananas. Yeah, I'm gonna get you guys 2 more.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty easy.
Okay.
what do you think of banana burgers? Yeah, it's different, right? Tastes kind of like the hash brown flavors, right? It's coming through because of the starch in the potato or in the banana. All right, so you guys can customize these burgers in the future, make it teriyaki, jalapeno, add some cheese, however you please. This recipe is super versatile. Turn it into tacos, you can turn it into a meatloaf, whatever you please. This recipe will do it for you. And I'm so glad you guys came today. You guys did an amazing job. Those patties were amazing, incredible. They held up very nicely, better than mine.
But it's so wet.
But cooking live is a little different.
She did say she listened.
But yeah, I'm so proud of you guys. Thank you so much for coming. Yeah, I'm gonna go try it now.
Chef, sorry, not as crispy as I would like it, but
It looks
smoky
great.
flavor.
There's some banana peel bacon made by Chef Dayton over here. So if you guys want to try banana peel bacon,
First time, and she just taught me on the fly, so please judge me.
yeah.
There you go. Judge me. There you go. Scold me. I don't care.
Well, with that, I'd like to wrap up tonight's session. Thank you all for joining us here at the Wahiawā Value Added Product Development Center. Especially big mahalo to Gabe and Chef Mari for sharing your knowledge with us here tonight. Everybody, you're welcome to make a plate, stay and enjoy. We also have some banana pudding ice cream that our product development manager, Haley, made. So stick around for that as well. All right, thank you, everybody. Drive safely.